What's up, everybody? It is the Friday before the storm of free agency is set to hit across all the major regions. Welcome inside to League Unlocked. My name's Eric Hummel. Thank you guys for joining us today. And as has been the norm this entire week, the early mornings have a little bit of LCK news. Obviously, the majority of them have centered around SK Telecom because we're expecting a complete roster blow up to some degree after not making Worlds in 2018. Faker demands greatness, as well as the organization as a whole really having 3 World Championships. And the latest rumors are around the top lane as it sounds like it's almost confirmed that Teddy is coming onto the squad. In the top lane, we've been talking someday. Maybe they steal Smeb away from KT Rolster. Khan, maybe Huni comes back. Well, the latest rumor, and by the way, these rumors are not nearly as legit as the other ones we've had. They're not from Invin or other main Korean media outlets. This one, from a smaller source where esports isn't even necessarily their focus. And whenever I go to these websites, and they're all in Korean, so I can't fully confirm these, but it is talking about BBQ's Crazy coming in that top lane. And obviously, initially you kind of go, oh, that's who SKT is going to get in the top lane. When you're talking about Someday and Smeb, someone like Crazy coming in, it sounds like a little bit of a disappointment. Obviously, BBQ was pretty terrible in the summer split. They eventually got relegated, and they're not coming back in 2019. Crazy was one of the bright spots on that squad, along with Ignar in that bottom lane. You look at, his laning numbers were not great, as you'd expect for a team that struggled for the entire split, but he doesn't have many resources, 8th lowest goal percentage of all top laners, and he doesn't die much, the 3rd lowest death percentage among top laners. So while you might immediately be turned off by seeing this as the main rumor for SKT, don't panic too quickly, because you've got to remember, by the way, if they are, I'm sure they had to spend a lot of money to get Teddy. There's still Mata, we're not fully sure about, but if they do manage to lock him up, that's going to be a whole lot of money. And Peanut, the other big rumor around them, that is also going to be a lot of money. So they might just not have enough money yet left to get someone like Someday or Smeb in that top lane. And as we've seen with different iterations of rosters, you can't have too many carries on a squad, otherwise it's not going to work too well. So maybe they're getting Crazy to A, save some money, and B, kind of be a guy to play the backseat, the tank, play tank duty for some of these carries, these huge carries, by the way, in the likes of Faker and Teddy. We did see Crazy play other champions like the Camille that you saw there. He's capable of playing both, but maybe they were just looking to get a guy to absorb pressure in that top lane too a little bit. But I'd also like to see Crazy play on a much, much, much better roster than he had on BBQ. So we don't know if this is confirmed by any means yet, but let's not, overreact too quickly and panic that they're getting the worst top laner in the league. I still think Crazy has the potential to be an upgrade over either Antara or Tall for SKT. By the way, they're probably keeping one of them. I'm not entirely sure which. Antara has a contract through to 2019, so it seems more likely that they would keep him, but give Crazy a chance before you flame him too hard. He was on a bad squad, and his role will be very different on SKT than it was in BBQ. The other rumor coming out of SKT, because if Teddy is coming into the squad, what's left to do with Bang? You can't imagine they're going to roll a tandem bottom lane with 2 guys who are more than capable of starting on an LCK squad. Well, the same source that's coming for this Crazy rumor is saying that there's a good chance Bang is headed to the promised land of North America, who again finished better at Worlds in 2018, so they must be a better region than Korea, right? Bang actually going to North America makes a little bit of sense. As his career has gone forward, he's developed into a little bit more of a memer. You've got this cosplay with Sneaky, so maybe I could see him actually being somewhat comfortable in NA, and the spot that I think he would fit best is, of course, Echo Fox. Lost has already taken up an import slot for them. I know I just preached when we were talking about Echo Fox, letting Lost develop and see what his ceiling can actually be. But if you have an opportunity to bring a two-time world champion and a guy who has been looked at as a top 380 carry across the world at times over the last couple of years, I think you pull the trigger on that one. And you're reuniting him with Huni, who he played with on SKT. They obviously got along. They were laughing a whole lot on that squad. And you also have, they can translate for one another. The main question is how well can Bang speak English? How quickly would he be able to learn English? Because it'd be a bit of an issue in that bottom lane with Smoothie, you know, of course, not speaking the same language. But Dardoch obviously thrived with Huni on the lineup, and I think having Bang in that bottom lane, obviously anytime you can bring in someone of his caliber, he's going to be an upgrade over most of the AD carries in North America, probably all of them in North America. Maybe you argue Doublelift is better, but you take that opportunity. Whether or not Bang is actually deciding to go to NA is an entirely different story. But if he does, I think plenty of teams would be willing to just throw money at him. And I think him, much more so than his buddy old pal Faker in the mid lane, would thrive in the Hollywood setting that the NALCS has become. But he might quickly realize how horrible the solo queue is and then want to go back to Korea. But if he does come to NA, that would be very exciting. Jumping away from SKT, Gen G, we knew that there were going to be a whole lot of changes coming their way coming into 2019. It sounded like basically Ruler and Cuvee were the only ones they really wanted to lock up, and as we expected, Ambition and Crown they've left the team, their contracts were up, they were not re-signed, so they're heading into free agency. And it's actually interesting that it's free agency because we thought one of, or maybe even both of these guys would be retiring heading into 2019. Crown is obviously a very emotional player. He's dealt with mental issues in the past, and we know that the Korean media outlets were going to be rough on him after going 1-5 and him being probably the worst performing mid laner at the tournament. So definitely going to be a lot of backlash for him, but it sounds like he does not want to end his career that way. And for Ambition, a guy who's been around since season 2, maybe even probably season 1 on some of those early Blaze squads, you thought for sure he would retire. People even thought he would retire last year after winning that world championship with Samsung, but it sounds like he's going to at least see what opportunities are out there before he fully makes that decision. Obviously, the veteran leadership that he could bring to a team would be amazing, and wouldn't be surprised to see him transition into kind of a sub role that eventually turns into being a coach of a squad going forward, because we know he knows this game so well. He's been playing for so long. I think pretty much any team would be happy to have him in a coaching staff or as that sub jungler to kind of come in, help develop some more younger talent. Or maybe he just wants a starting spot. He's still proven that he's got a super deep champion pool, and he's still a very talented player, but it is definitely the end of an era for Gen G. Obviously, the main highlight is that World Championship in 2017, dethroning SKT and denying them their back-to-back championship three-peat, and they were a very interesting team, that Samsung roster as a whole. As we've talked about before, they could never do anything in the LCK playoffs, never even won a single playoff series, but when it came to the gauntlet, they did their best Cloud9 impression, completely turned it around, turned it on, and qualified for Worlds. And then internationally is when they really showed up, taking down Longzhu 3-0, SKT 3-0. Even in 2016, they came oh so close to reverse sweeping SKT. So they will definitely have a lengthy chapter in the LCK and LoL esports books as a whole when we look back at the history. Well, that Samsung roster, and it's sad to see it end, but it was kind of what we were expecting. So we'll keep track of where Ambition and Crown end up going forward. Hopefully Crown really struggled. He didn't play much in 2018. He hasn't been that great since 2017 spring. So I don't know how many offers will actually be coming his way, but maybe a new change of scenes will bring him back to the MVP form that we used to see him at. But Gen G, who are they going to replace them with? Only time will tell. We don't even know if they're going to keep Haru in that lineup. There's still a whole lot of changes to come that way. And SKT, we will update you as the rumors come in. Next week are when all these rosters, well, not all of them. SKT said early next week they'll have their roster, or at least a whole lot more information. And when we get it, we'll share it with you guys as well.